Hi folks, welcome into another edition of This Week in Pearl. I'm your host Frank Hutton, and I got a lineup for you today. I am excited that we have Dr. Stephen Vacek, president of Hinds Community College, who's going to come in and talk to us a little bit about community college and Hinds specifically. So you definitely want to stick around for this one. So don't run off. When we come back, we'll be joined by Dr. Stephen Vacek and Senator Pro Temp Dean Kirby. We'll be right back.
Here in Pearl, we have Trustmark Park. It seats 8,500 people. It's a great venue that we have here locally. You can catch a baseball game. We have a new team, the Mississippi Mud Monsters, so we're so excited about that. In Trustmark Park, the stadium's been fully renovated. Adjacent to that, we have Bass Pro Shop, as well as the Mississippi outlets that people can come shop and enjoy and have a great time. So it's a good place to come. It's a destination spot for our city. We did a $12 million renovation to our Parks and Rec several years ago, and what we were missing was another key area for our children to come and just be able to hang out and have fun, but also have some playground equipment that was really cutting edge. I've always thought if you can get your community together, then you can have a stronger sense of community. And I think that's what Main Street brings to the table for us. And even though we're a post-World War II city and our architectural doesn't signify a downtown, we're trying to have an area that we create that people can come together and have a sense of community.
Hi folks, welcome back into an edition of This Week in Pearl. I'm your host Frank Hutton, and now I am joined by my esteemed guest, Dr. Stephen Vacek. Thank you for coming in.
Absolutely, thank you for having me.
And thank you, Senator Dean Kirby, for bringing him in. Welcome to the show.
My honor. I'm happy to be here. I'm very happy that he's here.
I am too. I have been looking forward to this. And
Me too.
This is true. I have been looking forward to this because I wanted to get you in this chair after seeing you talk at the Mayor's Prayer Breakfast. And if you haven't seen it, I'm telling you folks right now, go look at it. We're running it over again, the Mayor's Prayer Breakfast. It's a wonderful conversation. Really enjoyed your thoughts and all the things that you said. It was fantastic. So let me introduce who I actually have here because it's very impressive. So Dr. Vacek is the 7th president of Hinds Community College. He has more than 25 years of community college leadership experience across Mississippi, Alabama, Kansas, and Kentucky. Dr. Vacek has served as president of Maysfield Community and Technical College from 2015 until 2020 and previously led Colby Community College from 2011 to 2015. Early in your career, he held senior academic leadership roles at East Mississippi Community College and Bevel State Community College. Dr. Vacek has emphasized a one college vision, uniting the institution's 6 campuses while expanding programs tied directly to workforce and economic development needs in Mississippi. Welcome.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Extensive resume. That's who I have sitting here. He has a bachelor's degree in English. He has a master's in history and a doctorate in higher ed.
That is accurate.
So, wow. Thank you for joining.
Well, thank you for having me again. The prayer breakfast is much easier to do because I'm talking about things that really are more spiritual in nature. Mm-hmm. It's a little harder when you have to talk about the specifics of doing your job.
Right.
Yeah.
So let's jump right into that because the one college vision. All right, explain me one college.
Okay. So when I first came to Hinds, one thing I noticed, and again, it was not because anybody intentionally had done this or was someone's fault, but what we had really kind of developed into was 6 campuses that were acting very autonomously. They all kind of were doing their own thing based on their locations. They were kind of not thinking about the bigger picture, but really focusing very closely to their local towns. And I said, the problem with this is, number one, we are an institution that has some big needs, and we have to serve the entire metro area. So we need to be thinking bigger picture, number one. But number two, we better use our resources well because we know that even though we have great support from our legislators, the amount of monies that we have has gone down over the years. And so we have to be very good stewards of that. So how do we best use our resources? Well, if we have people who then are working on multiple campuses, we are sharing that vision with one another. we tend to be able to push things a whole lot further and get better results, in my opinion. And so I committed to that when I got here. I said, I want us to be one college. I want us to think about how do we move together and move the entire Metro Jackson area, how do we move us all forward together. And initially, I will tell you, it met with some resistance with our team. They'd gotten very comfortable with, well, I'm at the Vicksburg campus, I'm at the Pearl campus, I'm at the Jackson campus, and this is how we do things here. And I said, well, that's great. However, we're not going to do it that way anymore. We're going to start working together. And we're not going to work at cross purposes. We're not going to fight over resources anymore. We're going to share resources. And I think 6 years down the road, I think we're in a much better place now. I think we are thinking globally, and not just about Metro Jackson, but really about the entire state.
Okay. Well, 5 years in, what do you think Hinds Community College does today that it didn't do before you arrived?
That's a good question. I'm not sure that there are necessarily things we didn't do. I think we are maybe changing our focus a little bit and putting more emphasis on certain things. I think we've always been very good when it comes to serving our workforce and serving our companies in our area. But I think we've had to really, again, be much more on the ball and think about what's next. Obviously, when I got here, and it's actually almost been 6 years,
Yes.
when I got here, I don't think anybody had data centers on their radar.
No.
I certainly didn't. No. You know, I had no idea that was coming about. And so we have to be consciously ready to pivot and meet the needs of whatever's coming along the line next. Now, whether you love data centers or hate them, they're here. And so we have to figure out how do we meet that need. And so we've really ramped up our ability, first of all, in our construction area, so whether that's construction skills, carpentry, plumbing, electrical, HVAC, all those different things that help build the units. Then we want to think about how do we maintain those data centers, whether it's operators, whether it's engineers, whether it's fiber experts. How do we meet those needs? And so we've been consistently pivoting and moving forward. And I think we've done a better job working with business and industry than we've ever had before. I think part of that also goes back to the state has done a better job through Accelerate, the Office of Workforce Development, has done a better job of casting a vision and saying, you know what, we cannot do everything that we always did. We've got to do it a little bit differently, and we've got to be very intentional to make sure we're putting our money, our limited resources, in a place where it's going to bring us the best return on that. And I think that's one thing we've really done at Hinds is really focused in on that workforce side maybe more than we ever did before. We've always been very good, I think, and philosophically, I could go off on tangents on this. I'll try not to.
By all means.
But I'll try not to go off on tangents. But, for years, community colleges have always been, I think, the entity in education that's been asked to do all things for all people. Mm-hmm. Whether it's the 8-year-old who comes to an early college program, whether it's the 80-year-old who comes back and learns how to use their cell phone, and everything in between. And so we've really kind of had to look at that and say, you know what, I love that we've done that. But let's figure out what is most important. Where are we going to put our resources? We don't want to neglect anything, but where do we best get our bang for our dollar? And I think we've done that much more effectively at Hinds in the last few years.
And I was thinking about that question because I was kind of tying that back to that one vision. Mm-hmm. Because you're really trying to be transformative.
Yes.
And so I was thinking about that. So with that one vision attitude, what's different today at the college versus when you got there? And that's really kind of where I was thinking that. Mm-hmm. And you're saying it's transformative. It's where you're going.
It is, and I will tell you also, I think we're trying to take a better look at. In the past, we really were about access. We wanted to provide access to any student who wanted to come, right? And that's all good and well, but historically, we didn't always have the best outcomes. Sometimes we had students who came, but weren't always as successful as we wanted them to be. And so one thing we've also really focused on is we want to make sure that not only do students come in the front door, we want to make sure they have a good opportunity to come in the front door, that they can afford the place, that we're giving them the opportunities that they need, but then we're getting them through and sending them out the back door with a credential that matters. And again, it's got to be a credential that matters. It just can't be a degree in general studies and then they go and they don't really know what they're going to do with their lives. We want to make sure we've given them a purpose. We've helped them find their purpose, passion, profession. That's our mission. That's what we want to do.
One more time on the mission.
Our purpose, we want to help people find their purpose. Again, a lot of people don't know what they need to do or want to do.
Right.
Find their passion, find something that you'll love so you can do it the rest of your life. And then find your profession. Where do you fit in? Where am I going to be able to take care of my family? Get that job that's going to allow me to be the productive citizen that I need to be.
Well, you know, they say my family, my grandfather, everybody's always told me, if you do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life.
That's
That's
right.
right.
And
I believe that.
100%
Yeah,
agree, because
that's
I
right.
absolutely love what I do. Well, that leads me straight into my next question,
Okay.
because I really want to know how much of Heinz' mission today is about getting students directly into jobs versus transferring to universities.
Well, I think if you looked at our numbers, we still have more students who are in our transfer programs overall, and we send a lot of students to
The 4 years.
to the four-year institutions. You know, Mississippi State, Southern Mississippi, Jackson State. We see a lot of students go to those areas, but we have tried to be, again, very intentional, because we know that we have a shortage, we have a dearth in certain areas that we've got to fill. If we're going to grow our economy, we've got all of these. Again, HVAC is a great example.
Sure.
We need HVAC technicians, because if you know and I know the air goes out in your home in July, you want somebody there, and you want them there quickly.
Yes.
And the reality is, right now, I don't know about you, but I think it was 2 years ago, I had my AC go out, and I think it was about 4 days before I could get somebody to finally come, because they were so backed up, so busy. Well, that's because we don't have enough people to work in those areas. And so we want to make sure that we are helping people find those vocations that right now are paying good salaries, that have that are almost future-proof, because you're always going to need those folks. We want to try to think about that.
Right.
What's future-proofing them so they have these jobs going forward. And then we want to make sure that they also have room to grow as well. So we've worked, even in the programs where someone comes in and gets an associate of applied science in, again, let's say HVAC or in industrial maintenance, we now have transfer articulated agreements with both Southern Mississippi and Mississippi State, so students can articulate those technical degrees and go into and getting a bachelor's of applied science. And so if they want to continue their education, it's not an end. It used to be, if you went into one of those areas, one of those technical fields,
Yeah,
it was over.
Because the degree is different.
That's a degree. It's a different degree,
Right,
and this was it. This was it. It was a terminal degree. Well, it's not terminal anymore. Now you have an opportunity. If you want to go on and advance, you have that opportunity to advance.
In those classes, most of them would transfer.
Absolutely. We've worked out agreements with those four-year institutions, and they'll take those hours, and then they'll provide that program of study so they can get that applied, the Bachelor of Applied Science, and move along. And again, that affords them other opportunities, because yes, I want to be a welder, for instance, but perhaps I also want to own my welding shop one day.
Well, that's where I was going
and
with
to,
that.
and to do that, I need to have those other skills.
Sure, and you need some more skills in business management.
Right.
And so if I graduate your welding program, and I go into welding for a handful of years and say, I really want to do this on my own, then those classes, a lot of them would move to, say, a different, if I wanted to go to JSU,
Yes.
then those classes would transfer.
You can move those classes along to some of those programs.
And then in another 2 years, I now have my bachelor's in,
That's
say,
right.
business administration.
And you have the background now to open up that business.
Right. And I have the hands-on because I got the technical. I've got the experience because I worked in it. And then as an adult, I went back to school and got my bachelor's.
That's right.
So that's,
And we want to see people be entrepreneurial.
and it hasn't been that way before.
No,
I mean,
no,
that's
no,
what
no.
that's-
It has not. It has not.
It's wonderful.
But we want to see people be entrepreneurs, because we know small business is what's going to grow our economy. Ultimately, yes, we love the big Amazons and all these other companies that come in, but ultimately it's the 8 and 12 person shops that are really putting the people to work.
Oh, that's the backbone of
That's
the
the
country.
backbone of our society.
Absolutely, which kind of leads me into the next thing, that our community college is becoming more important than four-year schools for economic development. Now, I'm targeting that specifically. Are you becoming more relevant for economic development than, say, a four-year?
I think our missions are just different.
Okay.
I don't want to say that we're more
that's a good
relevant.
answer. Right.
I think we are more boots on the ground.
Well, that's where I was going.
Right.
Technical colleges, trying to get more people in the workforce, from electricians, plumbers,
Right.
HVAC people, construction,
Welders.
masonry, all of these things.
The immediacy, obviously, if we're going to build a data center, we've got to have these people who can build the data center. You know, we need those folks immediately. But down the road, we also know we're going to need people who are computer engineers. We know we're going to need production foremen. We're going to need those folks. They're going to require maybe not even just bachelor's degree, maybe master's degrees in advanced training.
Right.
And so we want to make sure that we've supported our four-year institutions, and I don't think they're any less relevant than they were. I think they need to also, kind of like community colleges have done, I think they may need to sharpen their pencils a little bit and figure out, maybe I can't do 412 majors anymore. Maybe I really only need to focus on these 100 because these are the ones that are going to put people to work ultimately. And I think that's been a little hard for some four-year institutions. Again, I'm a product of a four-year institution. Went to the University of Alabama. But again, I also know that sometimes if we get too caught up in feeling like we are academia for academia's sake, we've missed the boat somewhere.
And I do think that sometimes we get caught in that rut.
We can.
Absolutely. Which I'm glad you bring this up because it really directly leads me into my next question, because I really wonder, are colleges moving fast enough to prepare students for what's coming? Because
Well,
you just alluded to it. Are they moving fast enough? And you're talking about 412 degrees. Are we moving fast enough to say, wait a minute, we can build all the data centers you want, but do we have people to staff it? Are you moving fast enough?
No, but it's not because of want.
Okay.
I think it's because of just the difficulty in ramping some of those programs up. We've had a very successful, for instance, our plumbing program is very successful over the years. We have the only certified plumbing program in the state of Mississippi. But we also have a very small number that we can run through that program because it's hard to find instructors for that program.
Right.
Because if you are a plumber right now and you own your own business, you're making six figures. You don't need it. You're not going to come back and work for me for $45,000
No.
and teach. Why would you?
Why?
Who would do that? No one. And so then when I go talk to our esteemed legislators and I say, I got to have more money. Again, we're trying to figure out how do we best utilize those resources. Because I've got to be able to afford those folks. So are we moving as quickly as we want to? No. Electrical is another good example. We need about 250 electricians every year to be turning them out, 250. We were turning out, I don't know, somewhere around 100 or so.
Okay.
And we've tried to ramp that up. But again, you have only so many labs, so many faculty, so much overhead that's required as well. We're trying to get there, but it is slow.
Clearly, you've been thinking about it. So,
Oh, absolutely.
So Stephen Vasic has a magic wand.
Yes.
You've got the Hogwarts wand,
Right.
and you can just wave it. How do you fix it? I know you've thought about it. So, what do you see as bringing in the legislature sitting here to your right? Well, how do you fix it? How does Stephen Vasic fix it?
Well, one thing I have told other community college presidents, we have to make ourselves so invaluable that our legislators say we need to put more money into them. And I don't know that we've always done a great job of that. And that's on us. If we haven't sold ourselves as well as we should have, that's on us for not doing that. I want to make sure that when our legislators look at us, I can say, okay, when you put this much money into us, when you invest in us, because I think it's an investment, here's your outcome. There are lots of things that are vying for the state's money and attention, lots of different areas. But where do you get the most return on that? I would argue that with community colleges, you're helping put students into these hard to fill jobs right now that are going to grow the economy. And in order for these companies to not only come here, but to stay here, we've got to make sure we're meeting their staffing needs. And again, to do that, we're going to need additional support and help moving forward. Again, I can say all day, until I'm blue in the face, we need additional support for our career and technical programs, but it goes beyond that because at Hines, I have to also then make sure that we have accountants who are taking care of the money. I'm going to make sure I have IT folks who are taking care of our computer systems. I'm going to make sure on campus I have the facilities being tended by our own HVAC and our own electricians. And so it becomes a much broader ask when you look at how do we support this mission.
And it's not an easy answer.
It is not an easy answer.
And Senator, I had CEO last program of Entergy on this program, and we were talking about how the governor has touted the AWS and X and all them coming in, and they were shovel ready, and that's true. But it takes people
It does.
to make things shovel ready.
Oh, yeah.
So, Senator, from that aspect, what does it look like going forward in the legislature, being able to bring in more dollars to address this very issue?
Well,
right here?
of course, I've been there a while now.
I know you have.
And I've seen
you're the
things
best.
change.
You're the best person I know to ask.
Well, workforce training was not even a big issue or even an issue when I first got there.
Right.
And so I watched it evolve, but mainly Heinz has been the leader in that. I don't mind telling you, but we've finally seen the light. You know, we finally got, like little puppies, finally opened our eyes, and we're doing everything we can to help them now. I really believe that.
So does workforce productivity and putting money towards that? Oops, it popped
I
off.
can still talk.
You can still talk, but does that? And we need to fix that. We can.
I got it.
There you go. You're in there. All right. So does that mean maybe we see that maybe coming more to the top because
It is. It's becoming more and more to the top. And
is he right that the
without
community
neglecting
colleges,
the other. Though.
yes, but have the community college maybe not sold themselves quite
Oh no!
enough?
I think they've done a really good job the last few years. We haven't given, I don't think, the amount of money that we should have.
Right. Well, education's a top
But
priority
we've given
for
a lot of
funding.
money.
Yes.
So, yeah. Well, things are changing, as you said, every day, and the technical career changing. People look at that now when they used to. You probably remember the day that you could go to Heinz and take automotive repair.
Right.
And that was the big thing. Nobody even talked about welding.
Right.
Or
But body work, sure.
Yeah. And then I think one of the changes years ago is when we bought this building, or I'm sorry, we didn't buy it. Heinz bought the building. We gave them money for it out on Greenfield Road. That's when it started getting my attention at that point.
Right.
And I think a lot of other legislators thought, well, maybe we need to do more and more of this. And I think that's been a wonderful thing. And until then, I'm not even sure where it was taught. Was it taught at Raymond?
Raymond? Yeah, it was.
But now in Rankin County, it's a big thing.
It's a big thing.
It's more and more and more. But again, it's not everything.
No.
You still have those students there that want to be the doctors and the nurses. And
Right, of course.
Yeah, and so we are businessmen or ladies. So yeah, it's the overall picture, but yeah, it's become more and more important, and we want to put more and more money
Workforce
into
development
it every
is
year.
a big deal. And,
It really is.
And
everyone's, I think everyone should go to college. Don't get me wrong, but everyone shouldn't be a lawyer or a doctor or nurse.
right.
Or
I
whatever.
think everyone should at least go and get a trade. Learn a trade. If you're not going to go to a 4-year, go learn a trade. Don't just sit in your mama's basement
and as you
play
said,
video games.
To have a job that you like going to work every day and you love doing
You're right.
is happiness.
You never work a day in
and
your
we're
life.
offering that.
I'm a
now.
testament to that.
I say we're offering.
Yes.
You're offering it.
All right. So
I'm saying we when I say hi.
in this thought process right here, let's talk about students. Let's really get into them. What barriers are you hurt or let me make sure I read this correctly. What barriers are hurting students most right now? Cost, transportation, child care, mental health, preparedness. I just thought about several things. What barriers are hurting students, like you see coming into school? What barriers are in their way?
Well, I think all of those things, depending on your individual circumstance, because everybody's different. Certainly, I think all of those things you just mentioned are valid.
Yeah, I mean, I thought of like cost,
Right.
transportation, getting to school, child care, because so many people have children these days at a younger
Facilities.
age. Mental health issues, there's so much mental health, there's so many things.
So I will say at Heinz, because of our size and our scope, I think we've been very successful in helping address some of those issues. In terms of cost, I think if you looked at what the real cost is, not what it maybe looks like on paper, the sticker, but actually after you factored in financial support, whether that's aid from the federal government, the state government, or whether that's scholarship monies, students can come to Heinz relatively inexpensively, sometimes for free, but certainly not exorbitant. It's not going to cost so much that they can't afford it. I don't think the average middle class family can't afford to send their student to Hines, where they not be able to send them everywhere, but they can send them to Hines.
Right.
Now, cost isn't to me though the biggest thing. To me, the biggest thing is when they come. So many of them, life hits them in the face. You mentioned child care. You know, if you want to come back as a 34-year-old with 3 kids, good luck. I mean, my gosh, how hard is it to try to work a full-time job, take care of your children, and then come to school? You need that child care support. And we have child care facilities on our Jackson campus, on our Utica campus, and on our Pearl campus here. I mean, we've tried to meet that need where we can. Mental health, which I'll promise you, in 1993, when I started teaching, that wasn't something we even talked about.
Right.
We
30
did
years
not
ago,
talk
we didn't
about
even
mental
discuss
health.
this. Right.
You know, it was, throw some dirt on it and shake it off. You know.
Yeah.
And that's not effective. We know that now, and we know that more and more students need that support. So we have hired mental health professionals who now work with our students. They come in, they make appointments. Our counselors are full.
I think you say that's kind of through the counseling
They're
office.
full.
Right.
I mean, they stay busy. And not only that, but transportation has certainly become an issue. We have an organization at our institution called Single Stop, and Single Stop works with folks to try to take away those barriers. So whether it is, again, all those things already mentioned, child care, transportation, housing, they work with housing. If there are legal issues, they work with students to help them find legal support. If they need to navigate some of those other waters at the state level, they help them do that. I mean, believe it or not, we have students who struggle to even get a driver's license.
Wow.
And they've never had to produce a birth certificate before. They've never had to produce some of these things, and they don't even know how to go about doing that. And they're scared. And again, Single Stops help take some of that fear out of that.
This program's called Single Stop?
Single Stop.
Single Stop.
It was originally funded by a grant we received from the federal government, but since then much of that's been taken on by the institution. We still have some local support from different agencies, but a lot of that's been taken on by the institution because we know how important it is to take those barriers away from students, make sure they have success.
You mentioned 30 years ago when you first started teaching. So what happened? Why do we need programs like Single Stop? What happened? Now, I have 4 kids who all graduated from Hines and went on to pursue a 4-year or even higher. But what happened? They knew how to get a driver's license.
I think we probably needed it then, just didn't realize
what
it.
happened?
I think we probably did need it then. I think there's some people who probably got left out because of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
That today I hope we're giving them opportunities that maybe they didn't have before.
So we're trying to reach out to be more inclusive is what I'm hearing.
We want to be more inclusive. Again, access has always been very, very important to our college.
Sure.
But it's not just bringing them in, it's having them make sure they're successful.
Even the ones that haven't had maybe the help along the way as growing up to even know how to get a driver's license.
That's right. That's right.
Wow. And it's called Single Stop.
Single Stop.
And it was what before?
Well, it was a federal program. It started as a federal program.
Okay.
And we received that support, but it's been basically institutionalized, much of it, going forward. Because we saw how important it was. We couldn't let that go away even when the money went away.
Yes, and that just answered 2 of my other questions. So I'm not even going to ask them because that's.
I'll give you another example of something that the college saw that was very important that we really focused. We went all in on disability student services, although we don't call it that anymore, and I forget the name of it. But it's essentially working with students who have special needs. For instance, students who have hearing problems, students who have vision issues. Perhaps they are in wheelchairs or in some way unable to manipulate their steps and things. We have a disability student services program that's very robust. We have folks who sign for the deaf. We have a number of different machines that help folks who have vision impairments. We have a whole staff that works for these students.
Wow.
Costs a lot of money.
Sure.
And frankly, and again, not to throw shade, but we're one of essentially 2 community colleges that's really put money into this, a lot of money into it, us and Gulf Coast. And, we have other institutions that when someone comes and says they want to go to that particular college, they tell them to come to Hines because they don't have those services.
Sure.
But
But those people can contribute just as much or more too.
oh, absolutely.
Even though they may have a disability.
100%. We want them. We don't
Sure.
want them
Right.
on the public dole somewhere. We want them earning their, and they want to earn their livings.
Some of the greatest minds on the planet have had some type of disability.
That's exactly right. The thing is, 15 years ago, there was a lot of money that came from the state to support that. But over the years, unfortunately, that's one of those things that kind of got cut. And as it did, the institution had to pick that up. And again, not to throw, please understand, I would never
Right.
throw shade
No,
at our
of course not.
legislators. They're such great support for us. But as monies became more limited in those areas, we had to make choices. What do you prioritize?
Well, would you say those programs just aren't as seen as much? Is that what it is? They're not seen as much, so they maybe get less priority because they're just not out in the viewing public?
I think you have to make a decided commitment and say, you know what, we want to serve every single student, and we're going to do whatever it takes to make sure they're successful.
Right.
And so we've committed to that at our institution, across the board.
Whether it gets funded or not.
Yeah.
You're
And
gonna
again,
figure out a way to do
I
it.
think for me, it's even maybe more important. When you're born a little bit different, you tend to take a position. You understand those things.
Sure, because you come from a knowledge of knowing
I get it.
exactly
I
how
get it.
they feel.
I do.
Sure. So when you have some relevance about it, and you have some type of idea because you've maybe lived experience.
It's a lived experience. It is.
You kind of have a better way of being able to relate to that person and know what they need. Makes a lot of sense. And the majority of our culture maybe kind of leaves them behind. What you want to add something there, Senator?
No. I'm
see you
just
thinking-
amazed. Well, I'm just thinking about all the wonderful things while we're talking that
Yeah.
Hines is doing right now.
Right.
Especially in Rankin.
And he's saying, I need a bigger check next year.
Yeah.
Can you make that happen?
Well, hopefully we can.
Right.
Hopefully we can.
Yes.
Well, we talk about all the great things. I probably should circle back and say, one thing we've also tried to do. You asked me earlier, what are we doing differently than we did maybe 6 years ago? We're really trying to figure out what we are best at doing and making sure we want to be the best at what we're the best at doing. I gave a speech to our graduates just the other day. I was talking about one of the books that really has impacted me over the last few years called The 9 Lies of Work. And what the 9 lies tells you is that one of the lies is that the best people, the best workers, are the most well-rounded. Well, what the data showed to these researchers who did the work is the best workers are the ones who are not well-rounded. It's the ones who have these 1 or 2 or 3 just especially great attributes, and they've built on those.
Right.
And so they're the best at what they do the best. And so we've really tried to think about things like healthcare. We want to be the best at healthcare. And so right now you're seeing, if you've been near our Pearl campus, you've seen our brand new facility that's coming online in about 3 months in August. We have been working on this now for 5 years. Our legislators stepped up, and particularly our support from Rankin County was huge. Our legislator stepped up and gave us about $24 million to help with this project. Rankin County itself, our supervisor, stepped up and said, we're going to commit money as well. And through that, we're able to build now what will be a state-of-the-art facility, 162,000 square foot facility.
Wow.
That's going to, I think, transform healthcare education in our entire metro area. And we're going to combine what we're doing right now at our old facility, our old nursing campus, because that one essentially is antiquated. It's run its life course. It's done. And we're going to then we talked earlier about our Greenfield Road location. Greenfield Road was originally supposed to be a career technical facility, but it became more than anything else about nursing. And we're going to move all of that away and back to one facility on our Pearl campus, opening up space at Greenfield to do additional career technical programming, which we're excited about. But we've committed to healthcare. We've committed to aviation because we know we're doing things in aviation that no one else is doing. Our program has everything from drones to how to fly an airplane to how to fix an airplane. And we're even working right now with trying to get some money from our federal partners to do some air traffic controller training, which we have not been doing lately. All of this at our airport because, again, at Raymond we have an airport that we serve. And again, this serves our entire district. We're trying to make sure that people see the advantages of the airline and aviation industry right now because it's so big. We have put together a maritime academy in Vicksburg because we've committed to that as well. We know that because we're on the river right there, we want to make sure we're doing the training so that those barge companies that need workers have folks for whom they can draw on. They can send them back to us and get additional training so they can move up. Again, we are a cybersecurity center of excellence at our institution, and so we've tried to focus in on that IT cybersecurity piece and made that a linchpin as well. We want to be the best at what we do the best. Doesn't mean we don't want to do all those other things we've always done. We're still going to teach English and history and math, but we want to be the best at some of these areas that are going to help people really move forward and change our economy and think about where we want to be. Because for me, I want to think about where we're going to be in 20 and 25 years. I'm not going to be president more than likely, which is fine because I don't want to work for 25 more years. But somebody's going to be here,
Sure.
And I want to make sure that what we leave them behind is better than we found it and sets them up for success 20 and 25 years down the road.
And these things don't just happen. I remember,
no, of course they don't.
Gosh, when you first got here, Earl Dean Rhodes
Yes,
came,
Mr. Rhodes.
called me to have lunch with the new president. And that first lunch, he's talking about the Allied Health Building. And I said, wow, I don't know if we can do that or not. It's a lot of money. Let's see what we can do. Well, we managed to do it. And I'm going to let you later talk about the new building going up too. Please don't forget to talk about that because I'm real excited about that. So, it's great to have a president with vision.
Yes, it takes vision. And I was going to say that one of my business idols was Lee Iacocca. And his thing that he said, and he drilled it into Chrysler's head when he got there, do one thing, just one, and do it better than anybody else.
Yeah.
That was that, and I tell people that, I tell students that, I tell people that I meet, do one thing and do it better than anybody else. Don't try to go do a bunch of stuff. Just go do one thing.
If I may, sure, because I don't know the answer to this, I'd like to ask, how many students do you have enrolled in the Rankin and Hines overall? Do you know that number?
Oh gosh, you make me pull out this spring.
I mean, it's amazing how it's growing.
This spring, I think we have, and I think more in terms of FTE than I do of just actual head count because I think about the hours. About 8,000 FTE, I guess, overall, and probably at the Rankin campus right now, it's probably about 1,500, but that's going to grow significantly, obviously, with the opening of the new facility.
Right. So, especially when I was growing up, but back in the day, the 2-year, the associate degree or the community college was kind of the second option. What's changed? Has that changed? Because I think it has. Has it not become the first option?
Well, I hope it has, because one of the things I've told people, for years in community colleges, and again, I'll go back. I didn't go to a community college, because in Mobile, frankly, there weren't any that were accessible, that were easy to get to, and so that just wasn't an option for me. When I first went to a community college, the first time I stepped foot on a community college, I interviewed for a job.
Right.
And I got there and I really thought, I'm going to be here for just a little bit of time. I said, because I don't want to be at a community college. Who wants to do that? I want to be at a big university somewhere, and I want to do this and this and this. And I was there for about 6 weeks, and I realized at community colleges we change lives. And when I was teaching at the University of Alabama, I may have helped some students, but I didn't change lives.
Right.
But I do at community college, and I always have, and that's why I've stayed with community colleges over these years. But we, for so long, sold community colleges as a cheaper alternative. And I've told our team, and I hope I've drilled this into everybody's head, I don't ever want us to say we're cheaper. Cheaper, I hate that word. That sounds like going to the old TG&Y. I don't want it cheaper. What I want us to do is I want us to be efficient and effective and utilize our resources well. And I want to give students options. To me, it doesn't make any sense for a student who's coming out of a high school to go directly to a four-year institution if they have not gotten full scholarships or at least enough to take care of all of those needs, because otherwise they're going to have to go into debt in order to do that. If you come to Hines Community College, more than likely you're going to be able to come out of there with no debt. We have a lot of students, I would say the majority of our students come out with no debt if they choose to.
All of mine did.
Yeah, they can do that. And so to me, that ought to be your first choice. I'm going to get the quality education I need, programming that I need, because these pathways that we've established, again, we just talked about it. I mean, if you want to go into cybersecurity, you got a guaranteed job. If you can fix an airplane, you got a guaranteed job. If you can work on the barges, you've got a guaranteed job. I mean, these are jobs you're going to walk right into.
Right.
People go to Hines to learn.
Yes.
Some of the other universities, it's not all learning.
Well, I had a lot of fun at Ole Miss. But anyway.
I had fun in college too.
Sure.
And I want to make sure we have that as well.
Right.
You know, we want to create an on-campus experience for students who want that as well. And so that's why we have residence halls at our Raymond campus. That's why we have residence halls at our Utica campus. And that's where we're about to have a residence hall here in Rankin County at our Pearl campus.
So that kind of leads me to this question. I'm going to rephrase it a little bit here. How do you justify your value based off of what we're saying? Because that's almost like hey, let me justify my value to these students. How are you justifying your value? Even a 4-year, how do colleges justify their value?
Well, I think you have to look at when a student, and this is one thing we have not done a great job of, the federal government is now holding us responsible, and again, I sometimes get frustrated with our partners at the national level, but I do agree with them on this. They've taken a really hard look at, if I go through a particular program in 4 years, what am I making, and has it been worth it for me to do that? Because if anybody comes to a program at our institution and leaves it in 4 years, they're not making enough to justify why they came through that program. We don't need to have that program.
Right.
Or we need to change it so that it creates value for them. And we want to be very, very intentional about that. And so we look carefully at what do the data say? You know, is this particular field going to grow or not? You know, it doesn't do any good for me to have a program that has 25 students if next year in Mississippi, across the entire state, they only need 5 more people. That means 20 people don't have a job. They don't have an opportunity to job. So I'm going to make sure we look at that. We have to look at demand. We have to look at what they're making. And then we have to look at, you know, what is the growth potential for them. We want to make sure we're putting people in position so that they have opportunity to grow in those as well. I don't want somebody to go into something that they can never, that they're stuck in that for the rest of their lives.
That leads me right into this AI because we've danced around it this whole conversation, but let's just jump right into it. So how are you preparing students for AI jobs? And in saying that, I'm going to ask the part B to that. What are the AI jobs that you're preparing them for? How do you, and what are they?
Okay, so I am certainly not going to be your AI expert. I think I'm like a lot of people my age that it still scares me a little bit, the thought of what is AI going to do? How is it going to take and replace workers? Is it going to, how radically is it going to change our economy? Because it really is. It's here to stay whether we want it or not. So first of all, we have to figure out how do we utilize AI in our classrooms, and that's been a real challenge. How do we build it into classes? How do we utilize the quick capacity to pull information from anywhere and to assess that information and provide results back to that individual? How do we teach them to utilize that in their whatever their field might be? And then how do we make sure that we are preparing people in those jobs, and are we putting them into occupations that are somewhat AI proof? You know, again, AI is going to do a lot of things, but at least in the next 10 to 15 years, AI is not going to replace somebody who is a plumber in your house.
No.
When you call a plumber,
right.
you're going to need Joe, the plumber, to come and fix your plumbing.
AI is not going to do that.
AI is not going to do that.
No.
When you need to rewire your back porch so you can put in lights and a fan, you're going to call the electrician. AI can't do that. Now, there are some areas that AI is going to replace, and we need to be looking at that. I think that's especially true at some of the 4-year institutions where we've
are you
had
seeing
some
that
degrees.
maybe impacting more white collar?
I think it is. I think because so much of what is the esoteric, that knowledge that at one point in time you had to be at the top of your game and know everything, well, AI knows everything.
Right.
And so
access
now
to everything,
it's no longer
right.
I'm smarter than anything
Right.
else. Now it's really how do I utilize that smart?
If you know how to work a prompt on an AI,
Right.
how smart can you be?
That's right.
As smart as the AI.
And again, that's hard to believe that that's even a job, but right now you have people who are going into essentially being AI prompts. They're writing prompts, and they're getting paid for that. That's a job. That's a vocation.
But you could almost teach that
Yeah,
skill
you
because
can.
I'm literally, and being the IT here at City of Pearl, I have a lot of people who are, they dabble in trying to see how AI, and they're like, I don't understand, I don't get my result. I'm like, it's all in how you ask the question.
Ask the questions.
Yeah.
And literally, I will have them ask their question, and I'll turn and rewrite their prompt and get a totally different answer.
That's
and
why,
it's what they were looking for.
Yeah, that's why it's kind of crazy when you think about it that people who are going to be very valuable to the AI are English majors who
Yes,
understand how to
because
say
certain
things.
They know how to write the
Yeah,
prompt.
right.
And that's very important. So I just wonder, what kind of jobs are you going to turn out for AI? I mean, data centers, yes, electricians, plumbers, you need those type of people, because you've got to have that stuff to run a data center. But you've also got to have the technical skilled. They're not going away.
They're not going away. And again, I do think there is a need for us at even a national level to really have some deep conversations about where are we going with AI? What are we willing to give up in all this as well? I mean, sometimes I have to ask the question as well, just because we can do something, should we do something?
Right. Just because you can doesn't
just
mean
because you can
should.
doesn't mean you always should.
Right.
And so I do think we need to consider that. But you're right. AI is permeating everything we do. It's changing the flow of information. Again, I go back to when I first went to my graduate program, and the first time I ever had a computer in front of me, and it was an Apple computer, and I can remember this thing called email, and I was like, email?
What's that?
What is this? Who would send a message by a computer? That's stupid.
Right.
And now where we are, it's like, gosh, I can't even fathom where we've come.
We've seen a lot as Gen Xers, have
Seen
we
a
not?
lot of change.
Have we not?
A lot
We've
of
seen
change.
All right.
Frank, he's also made me realize, sitting here, or made me remember that some of our best teachers and some of our best coaches, not just the business world, but some of our best teachers and coaches went to Hines.
Yeah.
And in this whole state, and the really good ones I'm talking about. And when I talk to those people about Hines, they always say, I probably wouldn't have finished school had it not been for Hines. Hines
Agreed.
teachers care about their students.
Agreed.
And they'll do whatever they can to help that student. And you don't get that everywhere.
No, you don't. And I have a couple like that, my own kids. One went off to a 4-year, didn't do well at all. Came back to be a fireman here at Pearl. Went back to Hines. He now is a hospital administrator in Memphis.
Yeah.
He runs an 8,000 bed hospital.
Wow.
So, of course, he went from Hines on to, the University of Mississippi, and then he's got his master's degree in hospital administration, and he just took off.
Yeah.
But Hines, I have 4 kids who graduated from Hines. They all have a master's degree or higher today, and it's because of that. It's because of that foundation, not only from being parents and teaching kids, but also Hines, the community college.
Success breeds success.
It does.
It does.
And that's why I think if you start at the right place and you get that foundation, what you said, I think that success then builds on success, builds on
does.
success. We know that students who started a community college, this has been proven historically for a number of years, they start and complete a 2-year degree, they are so much more likely than the student who just went directly to a 4-year institution.
Right.
Because
Right.
they've shown their commitment.
Look, I'm not gonna lie, I struggled. When I went from high school to a 4-year, just right out of the gate, oh my gosh. It's night and day. Mama's not there anymore to put her thumb on you.
Yeah.
You can slack a lot, and you can just be a kid at 18 years old, and you can lose focus quick.
I can remember when I started teaching, the first semester I started teaching at the University of Alabama, I was teaching, working with a group of folks, and we had a lecture hall full of about 400 students. I was teaching U.S. History 1.
Oh yeah, there's 400 people in that class.
I didn't know
Right.
who those students were.
Right.
The guys who were teaching with me, because there were multiple graduate students teaching that program, we knew who these students were. When I went on my first teaching gig, full-time teaching gig at Bevel State, I walked into a classroom of about 25, 30 students, and I knew everybody's name. I knew all of them. And I still hear from many of them today. Because again, that's what community college does. It creates that linkage that people need. They need that interaction, that communication.
All right, so what gives you the most optimism about Mississippi as a whole right now? What gives you the most optimism?
I think we've had really good leadership from the top down. I think people have seen the need to focus on education, beginning with K-12, but moving along, I think there's been a focus on education. I think there's been a focus on, we want to make sure we're training our workforce for the jobs of the future. I think you have to have that being pushed down on people so they understand that. I think we've tried to put resources in the right places when we can. Again, we've been very fortunate. We wouldn't be putting up a building, a new health sciences facility, if we hadn't had support from our state and our local government. We wouldn't be putting in a brand new residence hall and dining hall and wellness center on the Rankin campus if we hadn't had support locally. So you got to have that vision. Again, I think the other thing is you have in Mississippi a desire to see success, because I think for so long we felt like we were looked down upon by others. You know, I grew up in Alabama. My mother's family is all from Mississippi, have ties here. It's important to me that we are successful. I left East Mississippi and went to Kansas for 4 years, and I went to Kentucky for 6 years. And again, I love the Commonwealth of Kentucky. It's a great place to have been. But 10 years I was away from Mississippi, and the whole time I felt like I was defending us. Everybody would always say, "Oh, you're from Mississippi." Oh.
Yeah, like it was a stigma.
Like it's a bad thing.
Right.
And I said, you know, you don't understand, because the best people I know live in Mississippi. And I came back and I've seen a really concerted effort now with Accelerate Mississippi, again with the state leadership and with your local community colleges. I think we're moving in the right direction. I think we focus now on the future.
If you could put that on a linear line, where are we on that line in your mind? Are we at the beginning? Are we at like, 2 or 3? Or are we halfway down that line?
I think we've still got a ways to go, because I want to make sure that we are not putting all of our eggs in one basket. I know that right now data centers are the hot commodity,
Of course they are.
and that's great.
Yep.
But I also know that when I was at East Mississippi back 15 plus years ago, we had tremendous success in the Golden Triangle. But it's because we had PACCAR and Severstal and Eurocopter and all of these different companies. We weren't just one thing, we were diversified there. And that's why the Golden Triangle took off like it did. I want to see that for the entire state too. I don't want us to focus on just one thing. I want that to be maybe a stepping stone, but I'd love to see some other things come in and for us to be a part of helping build those as well.
So we're just getting started.
We're just getting started.
On that line in your mind, we're just getting started.
Yeah, and I would love, again, Heinz, I would love for us to be even more involved in the maritime industry. I'd love for us to be more involved in aviation. I would love to help recruit some of those folks to our area. That I think would be a win for us.
Wonderful. And it's been a great conversation.
Oh yeah.
I'm ready
and
to
where have we lacked? What have we not done in the legislature?
I know, right.
I mean, we haven't really pushed the importance of community colleges as we should. But to me, and I keep saying this often in meetings at the Capitol, mid-level funding.
Yes,
Mid-level
right,
funding.
the mid-tier, right in the middle.
I mean, one meeting, well, we
Now,
can't
you tried
do
to
that.
do some more of that this past
Oh yeah,
session.
and look,
You're right.
I keep saying, look, guys, you can talk about it all you want, but it's the law. We have a law on mid-level funding.
2005.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
we're not doing as we should to provide the money that they need to get the teachers, professors that they need.
I know, right.
And I think we need to do a better job.
Well, you've got a chance coming up.
Yeah, I push it every year.
You've got
this
another
year.
opportunity coming up in a handful of months. Y'all can do just that.
And look, I do want to say one other thing. With all these, with the new facilities and all the things, with the new buildings, he's no longer in the legislature, but Tom Weathersby handled that on the House side. I did it on the Senate side. And I think Gene Newman has picked up that ball over on the House side.
Right.
Tom Weathersby, Gene Newman, Lee Yancey, Briggs Hobson and Josh Harkins and certainly this fella and some others have been instrumental in helping step up and support us. And again, I'll also say, Rankin County is very blessed to have a group of really good supervisors. They've changed over the years since I've been here, but we have some really good supervisors who've also thought about where do we want to be moving forward. And again, I'm proud to live in Rankin County. My main office is in Raymond, but I still live in Brandon. So and that's again, Rankin County is important to me.
Good. I've enjoyed this conversation. Now I want to pivot and have a little bit of fun.
Okay.
And I thought about this. I haven't done this before, so I'm just going to become a new
we're
segment
in
for me.
trouble then.
And I was thinking about, other places. I'm not inventing the wheel here, but I was going to do kind of like a little bit of a lightning round.
All right.
And I thought about it because I had so much I wanted to talk about. And as you can tell, I've been thinking about this for a while, and I was like, I could do this kind of in a lightning round and kind of make it a little more fun. So I came up with 10 things that I wanted to know the answer to, and I just wanted in a couple of words, 1 word, 3 words. Keep it really short if you can.
Okay.
Sound okay?
Yep.
All right. Best leadership lesson. Don't need to put a clock on the wall. Play the Jeopardy theme. Best leadership lesson.
Lead by example.
Most underrated career skill.
Communication.
Wow, agreed. 1 word for today's students.
Persevere.
Biggest challenge facing higher education.
Technology.
Interesting. Most promising industry in Mississippi. Some good ones, huh, Dean? Got you thinking on that one. Is there a few?
Medical.
Are there a few?
Easy answer is, I think, the medical field.
Yeah.
Medical field. Okay, but are there others that come to mind by chance?
Well, again,
'cause you're thinking about
manufacturing.
that
we
one
have
hard.
we have some great manufacturers in
Right.
our area. So, I mean, manufacturing is certainly important. Transportation, logistics is a big deal here in
Yeah.
Mississippi. We're also fortunate because we're right there in the
Oh, I
crossroads
know it.
of our interstates, because this is where a fiber crosses as well. Railroads coming
I
through
know this
here.
is going to be a tough one. There's so much, but
yeah.
you said medical would probably be the top
Yeah,
one.
I think that is.
Okay. AI opportunity or threat?
Both.
Both. All right. We'll leave that one alone for now. Are you an early bird or a night owl?
Night owl.
You like to work late at night? Okay. I'm the same way. Coffee or energy drink?
Coffee.
All right. Book that influenced you the most?
The Bible is the easiest answer,
Sure.
but from a
Outside of
professional
that.
book, I would say the People Code.
The People Code. Explain it a little bit.
People Code's a book that was written. It's been a number of years now. It basically looks at people's innate motivations
Okay.
and classifies them into one of 4 different colors.
Really?
And again, I believe it is the best book that has helped me understand people if I know what their motivation is. I know what moves them, and I know how. I have certain individuals on my team that they're motivated by peace. They want peace at all costs. There's some that want fun. There are some that want personal intimacy, and then there are those that want power. And if you know what motivates somebody, you can get the most out of them.
Cool. The People Code.
The People Code.
Sounds like a good read.
It's a good read.
One thing every student should learn before they graduate.
Teamwork.
Yes, I like that answer. Most important trait in a leader.
Integrity.
Hardest part of your job.
Time management.
Why?
Because I just have a lot of things pulling on me, wanting my time, and it's hard to prioritize. And you can never, unfortunately, this is where people sometimes will cast aspersions at you because they'll say you don't spend enough time doing this, you don't spend enough time doing that, you don't spend enough time to do it. And there's only so much of me to go around, and I
Only so many hours in a day.
I do my best, but
Most rewarding part.
this isn't a short answer, I guess, but for me, it's looking back over the years of the students that I've seen come through and be successful, and that are still making a difference in the lives of others.
Yes. One habit that keeps you productive.
Reading.
Okay. Best advice you've ever received?
If I have to do your job, why do I need you?
Wow, love it. What gives you hope right now?
My grandkids.
I agree with that. Most overused business buzzword.
Synergy.
Why did I not?
Hate that word.
It just gets hammered, does
hate
it
it.
not? I had a feeling you would say that. If not education, what career? Now, you talked about this a little bit.
Well, there are probably two or three. I did at one point in time want to work for the federal government. I wanted to do work at the State Department and do foreign policy. But I also love football, and I probably would have enjoyed being a football coach.
Okay. Well, that makes sense considering you lead a college. That makes sense because you're the head coach.
Try to be.
Yeah, that's basically,
to be.
that makes a lot of sense. Favorite Mississippi city?
Oh.
Can be any one of them in the state. You don't have to say Pearl because you're sitting here.
Well,
Right now.
I love our home, but probably the city that I just have a lot of good times in is when we go to Ocean Springs.
Okay.
Like Ocean Springs.
Ocean Springs. Last one. Community college in one sentence.
Democratic education that changes lives.
Democratic education changed lives. Wow. That's a thought. That's deep.
Yeah.
We could
I
unpack
would have just
that.
said future.
Ooh, we could unpack that.
Yeah.
Well, that's a lot of fun. I wasn't going to ask you all of them, but it was so you were so good at it. I appreciate you doing that. I'm gonna ask you one question before we leave out of here because this is one that I was sitting back thinking, okay, what do I ask you to kind of close out this interview? And I thought about it. So this is what I came up with. What kind of Mississippi do you think today's students are going to build? And where I get this, I'm going to let you think about it, where I get this from was the other day I had the opportunity to attend a woman's lunch. I was helping technical support. And she was talking about how growing up she never thought she'd be where she is in her career today and how many of her friends have so much influence on direction of policies and politics and governance. She was so just blown away by it. I used to hang out with these people. I know how they were when they were kids. So I got to thinking about what was the last question I was going to ask you. What kind of Mississippi do you think today's students are going to build?
Well, it's going to be much more technologically advanced than the one we have right now, just based on the things that have changed and are continuing to change. I think it's going to be more egalitarian than it's ever been before, which I'm hopeful for. If there's one thing that I would say, we still have a ways to go. We still have some ways to go when it comes to racial and class and even some gender issues that we still need to work through in Mississippi. I think I'm hopeful that we're going to create a state, and I've seen it already, that is going to be welcoming people back and keeping people here, because that's going to be critical to our success, is keeping people here. We can't let them go off to Nashville and Memphis and Dallas and Orlando anymore. We've got to keep them here in Mississippi. And the ones who have left, we've got to give them reasons to come back.
Good answer. I like that. Thank you very much.
So thank you.
I've
appreciate the
enjoyed
time.
today.
Yeah, thank you.
I have learned a bunch, haven't you?
Well, I really have. Tell us about the new building that's going to have a dorm, if you don't mind.
Sure. One of the things that when we were working on our health sciences complex, we were putting together all the monies for that. We were able to bring it in at a budget price that we really thought we couldn't get to. And by doing that, we had some additional monies, and we're putting that with some other monies we had, which wasn't a lot, but putting with what we had.
Right.
We're putting together a new residence hall and a dining hall and a wellness center on the Rankin campus. Lord willing, it'll be open a year from August, so 2027. And it will have, again, the residence hall primarily, we're thinking in mind our health science students, but again, it doesn't have to be health science students, but that's kind of who we're thinking about. It's going to have about 180 beds, give or take. The dining hall is going to have a national anchor chain. Wow, gosh, what is it? Wow American Eats. Yeah, Wow American Eats. It's out of New Orleans. They don't have a store here in Jackson, but they have grown throughout the entire country. Their menu is awesome, but they'll be sort of centralized, holding the anchor for our food area there, which is going to be very different than our cafeteria style food. It's not going to be cafeteria style food anymore. It'll be more like a food court. And then in our wellness center, we're going to have gymnasium as well. That we hope to have a volleyball program here very soon.
And the area, the square footage, do you remember, is 140,000?
125 to 140, I can't remember exactly, but somewhere in there.
Goodness.
It's a big facility.
Big facility.
Well, the Capitol has a little over 160,000. And if you're talking about 140, if it is, it
That's
tells
pretty
you
good
what size
size
building.
It's a pretty
it's
good
gonna
size building.
Yes.
And
I know I've seen the dirt being scratched over there.
and health science is bigger than that.
And
So
health science is bigger than that.
Yeah.
I know, right? Anyway, I'm excited.
I am too.
It's
the
a-
future.
excited. The
It's going
future
to be
looks bright.
beautiful. It's going to be beautiful. It's going
Yep.
to be great for Rankin County. It's going to be
Future looks bright.
for the state.
It is.
Will you come back?
I will anytime.
This was
And,
fantastic.
and
I
all
learned
that
so much.
is because of vision. that I
Right,
was saying
because of
earlier.
vision. It's transformative.
Well, he and the board,
Yeah.
It's
very good
transformative.
board.
Right.
I have a great board that I work with, and then I also have a great team. Again, nothing happens in a vacuum. No one individual. I told one of the things when I came to Heinz, the question they always ask a person who's interviewing for presidency, what's your vision? And I told them at the time, I was very honest. I said, I don't have a vision. I said, because if it's just my vision, then it can't be successful. It's got to be our vision.
Right.
And I said, I think we put that together, and I think 6 years down the road, I feel really good about what that vision looks like.
And you actually call that, again, that's that one college.
One college
vision.
concept. Mhm.
So one college. All the campuses were going to work together.
That's right.
No more fighting.
Nope.
Thank you, Dr. Basic.
You bet. Thank you.
Enjoyed having you today. Thank you, Senator, for bringing him in. What a fantastic
Honored
show.
to have him here.
I learned a lot. We could have gone we literally could have gone for hours. I thought about this and what I would love to know, and it's been more than I hoped for. So thank you.
Well, I'll come back anytime. You let me know.
Absolutely.
Well, and it lets the people know who the president is.
100%.
That's,
And I can't think of a better place that we can just dive off into talk, and we don't have time constraints or anything like that. We can just talk about it. I'm not trying to, get you through it. I want to learn. Anyway, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All right, so don't go anywhere, because when we come back, we're going to talk about what's going on this week in Pearl. We'll be right back.
Here in Pearl, we have Trustmark Park. It seats 8,500 people. It's a great venue that we have here locally. You can catch a baseball game. We have a new team, the Mississippi Mud Monsters, so we're so excited about that. And Trustmark Park, the stadium's been fully renovated. And adjacent to that, we have Bass Pro Shop, as well as the Mississippi outlets that people can come shop and enjoy and have a great time. So it's a good place to come. It's a destination spot for our city. We did a $12 million renovation to our Parks and Rec several years ago, and what we were missing was another key area for our children to come and just be able to hang out and have fun, but also have some playground equipment that was really cutting edge. I've always thought if you can get your community together, then you can have a stronger sense of community. And I think that's what Main Street brings to the table for us. And even though we're a post-World War II city and our architectural doesn't signify a downtown, we're trying to have an area that we create that people can come together and have a sense of community.
Hello and welcome back to This Week in Pearl. I'm your host, Frank Hutton, and I learned a ton. I really want to tell Dr. Basic how much I appreciate him coming in, and thanks to Senator Kirby for inviting and bringing him in today. That is so eye-opening that we could have talked about so much more, but I want to tell him how much I appreciate him coming in and spending some time with us, and hopefully you learned a little bit about the community college system today from him. Fantastic, and just where it's going is tremendous. All right, so what's going on this week in Pearl? Well, the Mud Monsters baseball season is open. They have just started, so if you'd like to go out and catch a baseball game, I encourage you to do that. You can purchase tickets or view their game schedule, even visit the merch store by going to mudmonstersbaseball.com. That's mudmonstersbaseball.com. And be sure and follow them on their Facebook page. David Kerr would appreciate that over there. He puts a lot of stuff out on their Facebook page, and you can catch up with the Mississippi Mud Monsters and see how the season's going. Go catch a game if you can. Also, Pearl Parks and Recreation's football and cheer registration starts June 1st and goes through the entire month to the 30th. So for more information, just reach out, call them over there at 601-932-3541, or go to their website at pearlparksandrec.com. So that's for football and cheer registration for the fall. It starts June 1st and runs all the way through the 30th. And then we got more concerts for you. Main Street Pearls 2026 Midtown Summer Sunset Concert Series begins Friday, May 22nd. The Boys in the Band, which is an Alabama tribute band, will play that night. And then Saturday, May 23rd, will be the Neon Mooners. And then hold on, because the next weekend, the last weekend of the month, Friday, May 29th, will be the Molly Ringwalds. And Saturday, May 30th, will be That Arena Rock Show. So come out and enjoy delicious food, treats. Food vendors are going to include Maisie May Lemonade, and Burgers and Blues will also be on site both weekends. And Cajun Claw will be there for the first weekend. Nice thing about this is all concerts are free. Costs absolutely nothing to be there, but bring a lawn chair. All held at Pearl City Park, right there on the corner of 80 and Marianne Drive. Concerts start at 7:30. Looking forward to seeing you guys there. Hey, look, today's been a fantastic program. Really enjoyed bringing it to you today. Hope you learned a lot about community colleges and where Hinds is in their growth and expansion. Again, thank you, Dr. Basic, and thank you, Senator Kirby, for coming in and sitting down with me. Until next time, I'll see you later. Have a great week.